cold metal of a Glock pressed against my temple as Claudia Barnett, HOA president of Willow Creek Estates, snarled through clenched teeth. "Get off our private road or I'll make you regret it," she hissed, sunlight glinting off the barrel. I froze. This wasn't about regulations or property lines. Claudia wanted my land and she was willing to kill for it. Who would have thought a power-drunk HOA president, my stubborn donkey Jasper, and a cleverly rigged mud trap would all become central in my war for justice? My name is Owen Barrett. At 40, I was done with Silicon Valley's grind. I left behind 15 years of code and startups, cashed in my stock options, and bought a modest 5-acre ranch on the edge of rural Texas. I envisioned a simple life, working remotely part-time as a software engineer, growing vegetables, raising a few animals, and soaking in the peace I'd long craved. What I hadn't expected was to land in the middle of a HOA empire disguised as rustic tranquility. Willow Creek Estates was a strange mix, half aging farmland, half glitzy new developments with designer fences and manicured lawns. My realtor had mentioned strict community standards, but I was too taken with the ancient oaks and the little creek winding through my lot to care. The house needed work, sure, but the land was mine. According to every record, including the county's, the dirt road that snaked past my property was private and legally part of my parcel. I built a chicken coop, planted tomatoes and beans, and brought home a few goats. Then came Jasper, a curious, belligerent donkey with a taste for adventure and destruction. Jasper first proved his value when an unauthorized ATV crossed our land. I was at the hardware store. Jasper wasn't. When I returned, I found the ATV abandoned and mysteriously disabled. The brake lines had been chewed. My security footage? All donkey. Soon I fell into a routine. Sunrise chores, remote work, afternoon projects. My hands toughened. My soul softened. The neighbors were friendly enough at first. Doris Fletcher brought over banana bread. Marvin, the retired rancher, offered irrigation tips. Even Claudia, with her fake smile and her blazer way too expensive for a ranch, welcomed me with a glossy HOA binder so thick I could barely lift it. 3 months later, it all began. Driving back from the feed store, I found Claudia, clipboard-wielding HOA Secretary Linda Green, and Treasurer Carl Bishop, a man in a full suit, sweating bullets in 90-degree heat blocking my driveway. I slowed, rolled down my window, and greeted them with a smile. "Mr. Barrett," Claudia began, sliding off her sunglasses like a sheriff in a spaghetti western, "you're in violation of at least 7 HOA codes. We're closing access until these matters are resolved." I blinked. "This is my driveway. I have the deed. I have surveys." She reached into her purse and pulled out a Glock. "Concealed carry," she said. "You're trespassing. Back up." I backed up. Not because I believed I was wrong, but because I wanted to live. The second I got home, I called a neighbor who let me use a path through his soybean field to re-enter my land. I rewatched the security footage. I read every inch of my land documents. And I hatched a plan. I attached a GPS tracker to Claudia's ATV. I began collecting footage of unauthorized inspections. I trained Jasper, using treats and tones, to pull a hook I engineered that could latch onto an ATV. I built a pig pen by the curve in my access road and laid a hidden mud trap. My wife Natalie arrived soon after, her background as a corporate attorney fueling our mission. Dave Lawson, a weathered farmer with dirt beneath his nails and fire in his eyes, became our ally. He told us about Claudia's war on working-class families, her quiet deals with developers, and the bullying that had already forced out 6 longtime residents. The documents Dave shared, meeting minutes, backdoor emails, financial statement, confirmed what we feared. Claudia was using the HOA to force out landowners, make properties unlivable, and snatch up acres for a future golf resort. Natalie and I installed hidden cameras, requested HOA documentation, some of which mysteriously vanished, and traced Claudia's ties to Mayor Donahue and a real estate firm called Heritage Development. Then the smear campaign began. Rumors of exotic animals. Violations for unpainted livestock shelters. A $2,000 fine for non-standard vegetable rows. The HOA was relentless. One day, Jasper defended the coop from a trespasser. Another, I caught Claudia and a suit from Heritage measuring our creek. It all came to a head the day Claudia returned, flanked by Carl and a private security consultant named Victoria, hulking man with tactical boots and mirrored sunglasses. They walked my access road, mocking the barn, pointing at crops and laughing. When Claudia's ATV hit the mud patch, the wheels spun helplessly. Jasper, hearing my special whistle, emerged and gently tugged the hooked vehicle into the pig pen. All three interlopers scrambled after it, slipping and falling in the mud. Claudia, in a fit of rage, fired a shot in the air. That's when I stepped out, camera recording. "You're trespassing. Armed. And discussing private development plans on my property." Claudia sputtered. Carl looked panicked. Victor tried to play it cool. We caught it all on video. The town meeting that followed was explosive. Claudia spun lies about animal attacks. We played the footage. A longtime HOA member turned on her mid-meeting. The mayor squirmed. When Claudia pulled out a fake offer to buy our land at half its value, people booed. Then came the shocker. Carl cracked. "This is about more than the Barretts," he said. 15 more families are on the list. Claudia's working with Heritage to wipe us out." The room erupted. Claudia was furious. "You think this ends here? You have no idea who you're dealing with." That night, our mortgage was flagged. Natalie traced it to a former colleague of Claudia's. We were being financially targeted. Help came unexpectedly from Claudia's husband, Walter Barnett. Quiet and ashamed, he handed us a flash drive full of damning emails, plans, payments, and confirmation that our home was in the way of a resort project. We now had it all. Footage, documents, witnesses. A reporter named Camille Flores ran an exposé. The sheriff's office began investigating. Then, just before the public groundbreaking of the resort, Claudia showed up at night. With Carl. With Victor. With gasoline. But our lights came on. Our cameras rolled. Jasper made one final stand. Blue dye sprinklers. Sirens. The works. Claudia fired Ogden at the barn this time. The sheriff arrested her on the spot. Carl surrendered. Victor flipped. The media devoured the story. The mayor resigned. Claudia faced criminal charges. The HOA board was dissolved. Dave became chair of a new community council. 1 year later, our ranch is a learning farm. Kids ride Jasper. The old ATV is a reading nook. The mud pit is now a garden. We won. Not because we had money, but because we had truth. A donkey. And the courage to fight for her home. A small sign now marks the road Claudia once claimed, Jasper's Way. Permission required from Donkey.